Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at a very cool knife. This is the Ryder small toothpick, and this particular version has the Stoneworks scales. But this is a review of just this model as a whole. We'll talk about the scales a little bit, but what I say in this review will probably apply to all Ryder small toothpicks. Huge thank you to Terry's Knives and Man Stuff. He sent this knife to the channel as a gift. He gave this to me. I really appreciate it. That was really awesome of him. If you're not subscribed to his channel, go and fix that immediately. He deserves it. He's a great channel. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this review with a blade length measurement, as always. Sharpened edge is coming in here. Just, we'll call it 2 inches. 2 inches of sharpened edge. If we measure all the way back to the bolster, we've got just a little bit over 2 1/4 inches of blade. This is a very tiny knife. It's also a very slim knife. Let's go ahead and get our size comparisons out for what they're worth. Here's the Rat 2, and here is the Rat 1. Yeah, I think pretty much everything's going to be off screen because I did zoom in a little bit close today. But there's those. Is it even worth doing all of our comparisons? I don't know. I guess for tradition's sake, we have to. We have to. We're a channel of tradition. I'm only human. I'm a critter of pattern. There we go against our Praxis and our Civivi Elementum. And let's go ahead and get our USA made comparisons out. Here's the Spyderco PM2. Here's the Benchmade Bug Out. Yeah, it hasn't changed size. It's a tiny little guy. Do I have any small knives that would actually make sense? I do have, actually. Here is the CJRB Mica. And here is the Civivi Baby Banter. Those are a little more appropriate as far as size comparisons go, I think. And we'll go ahead and compare against a Case Trapper and a Case Stockman. There we go. Tiny little knife. What are we looking at for materials? So again, our scales are the Stoneworks scales. These ones have synthetic jasper with genuine mother of pearl. Look at that. The blade here is a California clip point of 440 steel. Rough Ryder's basic stuff, nothing special, and of course we are a slip joint. Let's go ahead and go cut some stuff. Alrighty guys, here we are doing another review cutting. Today we're doing it with the Ryder small toothpick. Let's go ahead and start off with the ergos. This is a very small knife, but actually surprisingly, I can get a kind of a 3.5 finger grip on there. Almost a 4 finger grip, but not quite. This little hook here, if I really like kind of crunch up, I can actually hook that around my pinky and kind of like put one finger up here on the ricasso and kind of keep the blade closed like that. The ergos are actually really good for a knife like this. And in fact, this little grip right here, this is where, this little kind of pinch grip here, you can do it like this, do it like this. This is where you get all your control over this blade. And this blade is small enough that, yeah, this right here allows you to control that entire edge. And it's a fairly nimble little knife, so I like that. The ergos are fine. This is not hand-melting ergos. These are not the most amazing ergos in the world because, I mean, look at it. It's a tiny knife. But they're fine ergos. Let's go ahead and talk about that action. No half stop, but it's got a nice little walk and talk going. It's not super snappy, but on a blade like this, I wouldn't want a super strong spring because it's already kind of hard to grab that little blade. But you do get just a nice little pop open and a little snap close. It works fine, and it's a $10 knife, so, you know, as far as the slip joint action goes, it's nothing to write home about, but it's fine. It's fine for what it is, and I don't really have any issues with it. Carry on this guy. Drop it in your pocket, put it in a little slip. For me, this thing was living, basically for the past couple of weeks, this thing has just been living right there in my watch pocket. Fits perfectly. This is a little knife that you can throw anywhere and forget about it very easily. Make sure you don't put this through the washer, but yeah, it's a very easy knife to carry. All right, let's go ahead and cut some stuff. I guess we'll just use this little piece of cardboard here. You do not have a whole lot of edge to work with. This is 440 steel. Nothing amazing. This is not an edge retention champion by any means. And you see there, you run out of edge pretty quick. But like I said, you know, it's just a nice little blade to do very small little tasks with. It will cut. It's very, very slim. Even when this edge starts going dull, which it will go dull very quickly, this 440 steel, it'll still cut just because the blade is so thin. All right, let's go ahead and get through some rope here. There we go. That took a little bit of a pull. Kind of a small blade. Let's get down here. I don't know how this is going to go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that basically did nothing. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get this little blade down on the table all the way. And yeah, that's a lot of rope for a little bit of blade. So, not real great there, but I wasn't really expecting it to be. All right, let's go ahead and get through our pool noodle here. Got to kind of saw because our blade is so small. But there's 1. Let's go again. A gust of wind. 2, and we're going to stop right there. Just because of the length of the blade, we don't have a whole lot to work with. Kind of made the pool noodle a little bit difficult. I mean, you can see here that the blade doesn't even go all the way through. But we did get, it felt really nice passing through there. It didn't really bind up or anything until I started like trying to push all the way through and got the unsharpened part of the blade in there. But yeah, it's a tiny little blade. It does tiny little blade things. Let's go ahead, give you some close-up looks of that guy, and let's get back to the table. Oh, but Gideon, surely a knife that small can't actually be used for any real EDC tasks. Well, watch and learn, you doubting Thomas. Behold, the small toothpick versus an avocado. Fun story, I actually knew this guy growing up who was a knife collector, but his EDC knife was a case peanut. And he used it for everything. He even dressed out a couple of elk with that case peanut. I didn't believe it myself till I saw it in action. That guy was an absolute legend. You know what they say? It's not the size of the blade, it's how you use it. At least that's what I tell myself all the time. This avocado is a little bit green. Ugh. That's okay. It can be green if it wants to be. Yeah, way too green. But see, it's a better demonstration of this knife's capabilities. Using it on a green avocado instead of one that's nice and soft. Yeah, that avocado is hard as shit. Luckily, I have a great solution for cooking underripe avocados, and this especially works good on burgers and sandwiches, which is what I'm doing today. Fry them up, and with a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, whatever spices you want. It makes them into like these nice little chips, and they're really good on sandwiches, or really great for dipping in like ranch and stuff too. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get into what I'm liking and not liking about this cute little knife. But actually, before we get into that, some people might wonder, why on earth would you carry a knife that small? Is that even usable? Why would you even do that? And I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about one of the men that got me into knives. His name was Mr. Gifford, and he was a friend of my parents. He was an older gentleman, but he was an avid knife collector. He was probably the first knife collector I ever met. And I knew him when I was a wee lad, about 12. And during that time, my dad was the scoutmaster for our little troop. Gosh, we had a great little troop. We were just a bunch of redneck rejects from the woods, small troop. The largest it ever got was 6 boys, but man, we were a good bunch of guys. But anyways, for one of our activities, we went out to the Gifford's place, and Mr. Gifford was showing us his knife collection. And in particular, one thing that stood out to me was we all were eager to get his opinion on our individual pocket knives. So we pull out our knives and we say, oh, here, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And I remember I showed him my knife at the time, which was nothing special, but it was a camouflage knife. I can't remember what brand it was. I think it was a Buck, maybe. And he looked at it and he said, oh, this knife isn't bad, but what happens if you drop this knife in the woods? Would you ever find it again? And I remember thinking to myself, man, I never even thought of that. And then one of my friends showed him his knife. He goes, yep, this is an absolute piece of garbage, and hands it right back, which was pretty funny. But he had all these different knives. He had a Chris Reeve Sabinza that he let us hold, and at the time I didn't appreciate it for what it was. That's the only time I've ever handled a Sabinza, and I didn't know what I had at the time. So yeah, that sometimes haunts my dreams. But he was showing us his knife collection, and then he told us, of all these knives that I have, there's one knife that I carry all the time. He opens up a drawer and he has dozens of case peanuts in there. Dozens of them. And a lot of them have the blade sharpened pretty much completely off. And he reaches into his shirt pocket. He pulls out another case peanut. He says, this is the knife that I carry every day. This is my EDC. This knife does everything I want it to. I have even dressed out elk with this knife. And he backed it up with pictures. And yeah, he did dressed out elk with his case peanut. Now, I'm not sure I would go that far, but he did. And you know what? Respect to him. But yeah, a knife this size, and the case peanut was about this size, it'll do knife stuff. So let's go ahead and get into what I'm liking and not liking about this knife. Number one, this is an incredibly easy knife to carry. I put this in my 5th pocket and it has gone with me everywhere. I have not had this knife for very long. I've had this knife for about 3 weeks, but I carried it so much because it was just so easy to carry, and I used it a lot. And that's awesome. You are going to use a knife that you carry, right? So if you don't want to carry it, you're probably not going to use it. This knife is incredibly easy to carry. It just disappears, right? Be careful not to put it through the wash. But yeah, this is one of the best 5th pocket carries ever. I mean, look at that. Look at how slim and compact that is. That just disappears. So I really, really appreciate that. Next, the blade is good. This is a nice little blade. Yeah, the steel's not going to hold an edge forever, but this got done in all the tasks I put it through. Mostly opening packages, opening food, cutting some small strings. Yeah, it was completely fine. The next thing is this is a very non-threatening knife. I carry this a lot at work, and as a lot of you know, I work at a natural history museum, and so I like to have something that's very non-threatening because even though it doesn't happen very often, sometimes I'll be working, like we're renovating one room, and I'll be in there working. I'm having to cut strings and tape and things, and people could be walking around and asking me questions about exhibits and stuff, and so I don't want to be that guy that's sitting there, holding a massive blade in my hand, because then I'm not very approachable, right? So this is very, very nice and friendly. And I know some people might be like, oh, you shouldn't bow to the sheep. It's just common courtesy. So I'm sorry. But yeah. Next thing, this knife actually has surprisingly good ergos for what it is. I mean, it's very small, but I can get almost all my fingers on there. And I feel very locked in. I like this ricasso area that I can put my finger on and kind of, give myself protection against the blade closing. It's good. It's good. A little pinch grip. Yeah, and I'm not going to be doing anything crazy with this knife. So a grip like this, a very even a loose grip, is completely sufficient for the tasks that I have to accomplish. Fit and finish on this guy is fairly good for a $10 knife. It's not perfect. We're going to, I guess, kind of address that right here. You can see there's some gapping right back here. But overall, Fit and finish is pretty good. I really do like this Stoneworks version. I think this is a very, very cool knife. I mean, obviously, for you guys that have been around the channel for a while, I kind of like rocks a little bit. Just a little bit. Terry knew what he was doing when he sent me this. So I really do appreciate that. I actually have some really nice pieces of carnelian that kind of remind me of these scales, and some petrified wood too that, actually, I think for the thumbnail of this video, I just got back from work. I should have taken some pictures at work with this guy and the petrified wood, because I think that would look really, really snazzy. That's what we're going to do for the thumbnail. That's what we're going to do for the thumbnail. But yeah, it looks good. It looks really, really good. It's also easy to open with knives this small. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit hard to grab that blade, especially since you do have to grab this blade. But the spring tension is light enough that it's very, very easy to do. There's no half stop here, as you can see. But the action is good enough. There's a good little pop when it comes open. So, yeah, the action is good enough. Let's go ahead and get onto some of my negatives. And really, it's hard for me to find any negatives because this is a $10 knife. If I haven't mentioned that before, this is a $10 knife. I do wish it had a half stop, and the action could be better. This is not one of the best slip joint walk and talks I've ever felt. But honestly, I don't really mind because, again, it's a $10 knife, but also, like I already said, if this spring was stronger, it would be miserable to try and pinch this knife open. It would be absolutely difficult. So I'm going to give them a pass on that. The blade steel, not the best thing ever. Loses an edge pretty much instantaneously. Is a little bit difficult to maintain just because it is so soft. But again, $10 knife, and this thing is thin enough that even when it does start to go dull, it's still going to be separating material. So there's really not a whole lot I can complain about. The fit and finish is a little bit wonky, but these aren't really complaints because of the price point. So let's go ahead and go on to my final conclusions. My final conclusions are that this is a very cool little knife, and this is honestly one of my favorite fifth pocket carry knives ever. I need to do another video about fifth pocket carry knives. That's my most watched list video on the channel, is like 10 great small EDC knives, 10 great fifth pocket carries. I need to do that list again. This knife is definitely going to be on there because I really, really enjoy carrying this. I'm going to continue carrying this. This is a fantastic backup knife. This is a fantastic little fifth pocket carry. And do I recommend it? Abso-freaking-lutely. So, if you're interested in a Rough Ryder small toothpick, go ahead, go to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, pick one up for $10, $9.99. You are not going to be disappointed, I promise. And that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Big shout out to my channel members at the cowboy level. If you want to be a channel member, there's a button down below. Feel free to join. You get access to cool little perks. For the rest of you, if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.